too. I still remember that one summer, the one I spent in my grandmother's old town. It was one of those places you see in old postcards, a tiny village tucked away in misty hills, with a single long road and a handful of crooked, tired-looking houses. But it wasn't the scenery people talked about. What they whispered about, in hushed tones, was the doll shop at the very end of that road. They called it the Dollmaker's house. Nobody seemed to know who owned it anymore, but years and years ago, that little shop had been famous. Every child in the surrounding villages dreamed of owning one of its dolls. And why wouldn't they? The dolls looked almost real. A little asterisk to asterisk real, some would say. Then, one day, the Dollmaker just disappeared, vanished without a trace. See, the shop was closed overnight, and all the dolls were left behind, their painted eyes staring out through the dusty, grimy windows. I was 12 that summer, and at that age, you think you're invincible. You don't believe in ghost stories. So, one sleepy afternoon, while my grandma was at the market, I decided to go see the infamous shop for myself. I walked down that long road, the air thick and quiet, until I was standing right in front of it. The sign above the door was so faded you could barely make out the words, and the windows were draped in thick ancient cobwebs. It looked like a place that time had forgotten. Curiosity got the better of me. I leaned in, pressing my face against the cold, dirty glass to get a better look inside. My breath caught in my throat. Inside, sitting on rows of dusty shelves, were the dolls. Dozens of them, all sitting perfectly still, each one with the faintest, most unsettling smile painted on its porcelain face. One doll, right by the window, had these piercing blue eyes that seemed to follow my every move. It sent a shiver down my spine, and then, with a low, agonizing creak, the door swung open. All on its own. I froze, my heart hammering against my ribs. The air that drifted out smelled of old wood, damp earth, and something else. Something like rain after a long, dry spell. I took a hesitant step inside, my voice barely a whisper. Hello? Nothing. Just a heavy, oppressive silence. But as my eyes adjusted to the gloom, I could have sworn the dolls on the shelves looked closer, as if they'd all leaned forward just a little bit. Suddenly, a small, delicate bell on the counter chimed, a sharp, clear ring that cut through the silence, but no one was there. I turned slowly, scanning the shadows, and that's when I saw her. A small girl doll, sitting all by herself on a high shelf, was dressed in a vibrant red dress, and she looked newer than all the others, almost like someone had just polished her porcelain skin. Pinned to her little dress was a tiny, handwritten note. I squinted to read it. It said, "Don't forget to wind me." Before I could even process what that meant, a soft ticking sound started up, like a tiny clock being wound, but I couldn't see where it was coming from. The doll's head tilted, just a fraction of an inch, to the side. I stumbled back, my feet tangling up, my heart pounding in my ears. And then I heard it a whisper, so gentle but so chillingly clear. "Play with me." I spun around, wildly looking for the source of the voice, but the shop was empty. Except for me. And the dolls. I looked back at the shelf, but the red-dressed doll wasn't there anymore. My eyes darted around the room until I found her. She was now sitting on the floor, right in the middle of the room, facing me. But I hadn't touched her. I hadn't gone anywhere near her. The ticking grew louder, echoing off the wooden shelves, surrounding me. Then, one by one, the other dolls began to turn their heads, their glass eyes gleaming in the dim light, all fixed on me. Pure, blind panic took over. I scrambled for the door, but just as my fingers touched the handle, it slammed shut with a loud, final snap. I was trapped. I banged on the wood, shouting for help, for anyone, but my voice was swallowed by the ticking. The whisper came again, closer this time, right by my ear. "Stay, he's almost done." I whispered back, my voice trembling. Behind the dusty counter, a shadow moved. A tall, thin figure stepped into a sliver of light. He wore a long, dark coat and gloves, and his face was hidden beneath the wide brim of a hat. He was humming a little tune, a melody that sounded just like a music box. It was the Dollmaker. He bent down and gently picked up the doll in the red dress, brushing a speck of dust from her rosy cheek. "This one's not finished yet," he said, his voice soft and raspy. "She still needs a heart." He looked up at me then, and his smile was surprisingly kind, but his eyes were completely empty, like two pools of painted glass. I backed away, shaking my head. I have to go. "Oh, soon," he whispered, taking a step toward me. But first, tell me, do you like my dolls? I nodded frantically, my words tumbling out. Yes, they're amazing. He tilted his head, studying me, that empty gaze boring into me. Good, he whispered, because one of them wants to be your friend. He pointed to the doll in red, still cradled in his arm. Her tiny wooden hand lifted and gave a little wave. My legs felt like they were about to give out. Just then, the bell above the door rang again, sharp and deafeningly loud. A wave of intense cold washed over the room. The Dollmaker turned his head toward the sound and he just vanished, gaunt, like a puff of smoke in the wind. The door swung open, flooding the dark shop with bright, warm daylight. I didn't think, I just ran. I ran out of that shop and didn't stop, didn't even look back, until I burst through the door of my grandma's house, gasping for air. Later, when my heart had finally stopped trying to escape my chest, I glanced back down the road. The shop was dark again, but the window was empty. No dolls, no shelves, nothing. It was as if it had never been there at all. That night, tucked into bed, I tried to convince myself it was all a bad dream. But then I heard it, a faint, familiar ticking sound coming from the corner of my room. It was coming from my backpack. My stomach twisted into a knot. With trembling hands, I unzipped it, and there it was, Nadal in the red dress. She was sitting perfectly still amongst my books, smiling that soft, unsettling smile. And pinned to her dress was a new note. It read, "Thank you for winding me. What would you have done?" Let me know in the comments below. And if you love stories that keep you up at night, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching.